Thank you, Matt. That was quite an introduction. Thank you, guys, everybody, for joining us today. I'm looking forward to today's webinar. There's a lot of really good info in here, I think. I'm excited to tell the InsideZappos story for the very first time ever, what we've been doing from an employer branding perspective, and tell you a little bit about that. I've been with Zappos now a little over 2 months. It's been a really fun 2 months. This is the best company I've ever worked for and the best job I've ever had, and that will probably come through today, so I apologize if I seem a little over-enthusiastic. It is 100% genuine, I assure you. I'm also the CEO and founder of a little company called Tenfold Social Training, and I do social recruiting training for recruiting teams. So teaching them how to do sourcing, how to do employer branding, how to do pipelining, all sorts of good stuff around social. Feel free to tweet InsideZappos today, or me, and or work for, or any of Matt, all of us, we would love it. So here we go. All right, today we are going to talk about talent brand, employer brand. We're going to explain what that is in a second. We're also going to talk about what great employer branding content looks like. And then we're going to learn how to amplify our employer brand and get it out there to our target audience. We're also going to talk a little bit about measurement too, but that was kind of added on at the end. So that'll be something exciting that you can look forward to. Everyone likes the little metrics, measurements, and analytics. So, all right, let's start off with a little bit of kind of the lay of the land. In 2013, LinkedIn did a global recruiting trends survey. They actually surveyed a pretty large sample, 3,300 talent acquisition leaders in 19 different countries. So this is pretty comprehensive. And they asked them, what is keeping these folks up at night? What are the most important trends when it comes to shaping the future of recruiting? And this is what the answers were. You'll notice that the first two are definitely tied together, the social professional networks and then the employer branding. It's both a competitive threat and a competitive advantage. These are two things that I thought were pretty telling. So we know that employer branding is something that's important to talent acquisition leadership. So let's talk about talent brand. We know it's important. We know people are worried about it. They're thinking about it. They're strategizing about it. But what is it exactly, and where do you start? So started thinking about all the things that comprise employer brand, and all these different words kind of came to mind, right? This little word cloud popped up. You know, transparency and current employees and perception and culture and perks and their candidate experience and authenticity and ultimately reputation and the perception and word on the street. All these things, but I kind of boil it down to these four things. Your EVP, your employee value proposition, is a big part of it. Your company culture is a very big part of your employer brand. The people in your company obviously are a very huge part of both your company culture and your employer brand. And then ultimately candidate experience as well. How do you treat people who are considering working for your company as they go through the process? So real quick, before we jump into this, all these things come together to comprise your talent brand. What is the difference between employer brand and talent brand? A lot of people ask me this. It's not hugely different. I use them interchangeably in my tweets, to be quite honest. But ultimately, an employer brand is kind of what we've used to say. It was back in the day when we were putting out our messaging to candidates. We were trying to shape the word on the street, that kind of thing, the reputation of our company as an employer, as a place to work. Talent brand is the more social version of your employer brand. It's not just what you are pushing out from a marketing perspective to your candidates. It's also what everyone out there in the social world is saying to each other about you as a place to work. So it's not this back and forth thing. It's this super social landscape. It's your candidates, it's your employees, it's your customers, it's your recruiters, it's the general public, it's media. All these people are talking about you, and there's a lot of chatter out there about your company as a place to work. That's your talent brand. That's what people are saying to each other. If you don't choose to have a voice in that conversation, you're not really having a good opportunity to shape the perception. So do what you can to jump in and be a voice in your employer brand and in that talent brand to help shape it and mold it. So that's kind of what talent brand is. So I'm going to say both of those today. So bear with me as I swap back and forth a little bit, because I think of them both very in the same vein for the most part. So what is your talent brand, right? What is your own company? Everybody think about your company. Think about your EVP. Think about your company culture. Think about your people. Think about the way you treat your candidates and the experience that they have. Put all those things together, and it's time to start thinking about those tough questions, right? What is the word on the street? What are people saying about you? What should it be? What are you wanting it to be? So now's the time to really take a second, write down 5 things or 3 things that you think people say about your company as a place to work. And it might not all be positive, and that's okay. And let me just note, I believe that social media is a spotlight. It's not a magic wand. A lot of people are out there, oh, we can use social media and we can fix our employer brand. I don't believe that social media can fix a bad company culture or poor employee morale. I believe that social media merely shines a spotlight on it. So you can't fake it and pretend to be something you're not. So it might be time to start making some changes internally that will improve your company culture rather than expecting a little strategic employer branding to totally fix things. It doesn't work that way. So this is an internal effort as well, not just an externally facing effort. All right, let's take a look at some statistics. We talked about that survey a moment ago of all those talent executives in 19 different countries. And here are some more statistics that came out of that LinkedIn's employer brand playbook that we referenced a moment ago. So 83% of leaders agree that talent brand has a significant impact on the ability to hire great talent. Okay, that's a given. Statistics also show that you can lower your cost per hire by 50%, employee turnover goes down, and obviously we want to influence that conversation. I also read an interesting statistic just this morning on an article that came across my Twitter stream, and it said that 2/3 of candidates will actually accept a lower salary if the company has a positive brand and creates a really positive impression during the interview experience. So those 2 things kind of come together. So again, we're talking about company culture, EVP, candidate experience, all these things come together, and you're only going to help yourself if you have a strong employer brand. Real quick, just to get some other stats in there from some different sources, RollPoint had a really great infographic that I chopped up into little pieces. Thank you, RollPoint. And they actually took about 7 or 8 different surveys from a number of different sources, ERE, Career Builder, JobBite, a number of different places, and a lot of really interesting stats there as well. So you guys can read through these later when you get the deck, but just wanted to show some different perspectives as well. Okay, this one is the most important statistic that you're going to see today, in my opinion. 50% of recruiters don't understand their own talent brand. This came out of a corporate executive board thought leadership survey a couple years ago. But I bet the number hasn't changed significantly. If your own employees and your own recruiters don't understand your talent brand, how do you expect prospective candidates to understand it? So this is absolutely something we need to, like I said, take a look inside, ask ourselves the hard questions, and then be ready to make some changes. Hey guys, whoever, can you guys hit mute for me? Do me a big favor. I can hear a little bit in the background and it's a little bit distracting. I'm like a dog with a squirrel, every little thing. Thank you. Can you guys hit mute? Okay, let's start with content. We've already talked a little bit about talent brand, why it's important. We can't just start amplifying that talent brand and getting it out to our audience externally. We really have to think about what that content looks like. What in the world do we share to get our message out there to our target audience? You can't just say, this is what we want to be, and start saying that to the world. You need to think about different types of content, different examples, different media type. All these different things come together to show the world what your brand is all about. And here's where we're going to talk a lot about Zappos. Here's what I'm really excited about. This is the meat of our webinar today, and I hope you'll like it. I get super excited. So, okay, what does great content look like? Great content tells a story. Simple as that. A relevant, transparent story of what it's like to work at your company, right? People don't want to be marketed to. They don't want a lot of slick marketing materials. They don't want somebody selling them something. They just want to peek through the blinds to see what it's really like to work, at your company, right? You want to paint them a picture. It's pretty straightforward. Be who you are. Be real. Be authentic. Be transparent. Give them that insider's perspective that they can't gain otherwise, right? This is why we rebranded Zappos Careers as InsideZappos. All across our social media channels and our soon-to-be-revealed careers page. It launches on Monday. Very excited. We're helping candidates come inside and see what it's really like to work inside of our company. So that's the whole idea. So here we go. We want to paint that picture, right? Share tons of pictures, videos, articles, showcasing our employees, our culture, our work environment, events around campus. all of that good stuff. My job at Zappos is the easiest job in the world. I just have to shine a spotlight on that amazing company culture that we already have, and it's not too tough. So let's talk a little bit. Oh, by the way, real quick, I'm going to go back. These are not Zappos people in this particular picture, by the way. We're going to show some examples in just a sec. But this is the idea, right? Picture this being your place of work. This is your nasty foosball table that's got, you know, root beer and stuff spilled all over it, and your techies that are there in their cube with their Dilbert cartoons and their old Starbucks cups. You know what? That's okay. That's what appeals to techies, right? And maybe if you're appealing to other audiences, that's what you want to share. What is it really like at your company? Be real. Can candidates look at these pictures and say, wow, I can actually picture myself working there, or hey, it looks like my kind of people. If they can look at your content that you're sharing and say to themselves, wow, this does look like a place where I could work, then you're doing a good job. If it's not really informing them, it's not really interesting, it's not really helping them answer that question in their own minds, then maybe you're not really sharing the right type of content. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But can candidates answer that question? Can I see myself working there? That's what you need to keep remembering. We're sharing content that's interesting to our audience, prospective candidates, not other recruiters, not our boss, not the marketing department, candidates, prospective candidates. All right, so when I see a lot of companies out there doing employer branding, and this is what the norm is, right? This is what you see every day. You see people saying, oh, we got this, you know, PR announcement, or hey, we got this award, or oh, we met our Q2 earnings, you know, woohoo. Here's a bunch of job postings, 10 of them a day. You know, these sorts of things tend to be the standard. And I would kind of bring you back to that last slide that I talked about. Is this super interesting to your candidates? Yeah, you made your earnings announcements. That's probably more internally exciting than it is to candidates unless they're stockholders, right? Is there anything about a job posting that in general is going to make a candidate jump out of their seat and get really excited and hit share and like and retweet? Probably not. When it comes to branding, job postings are not good branding, right? Leave your job postings to your careers page or your job listing or to job boards, but maybe not as a branding effort, right? So this is what you see as the norm. I want to challenge you to take it up a notch, right? This is not the ideal. How are we going to wow them? This is the stuff that's going to wow your audience. Go ahead and screenshot this and save this and use this. Company culture, employee blogs, department blogs, again, these things that are giving candidates an inside glimpse into what it's really like at your company. What's cube life like? What does it look like? Does everyone have an office? Does everyone have a cube? Is it just a big open workspace? They want to know this, right? They wouldn't buy a house without taking a tour or looking inside and seeing the neighborhood. Like, people want to get their bearings and get their feel and see who the neighbors are and who would I be working with and who are the team members. Visually, share as much of this as you can. Employee spotlights are great. You can do video interviews. You can do Q&A interviews. You can share somebody's history. We do this through blog posts at Zappos. Any kind of unique perks or benefits. I'm going to show you an example at Zappos, a really unique perk that we have, and it did really well when I shared it on social. Candid photos, iPhone videos. These do not have to be slick photos that your AV department or some marketing person took or something that was taken with a tripod. You can just walk around the office and take little iPhone videos and pop them up on social. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy because guess what? Some of this homespun stuff tends to be much more authentic, much more real to people, and it doesn't seem like you're hiding anything or glossing over anything. So don't be afraid. Don't overthink it. A lot of people don't have giant budgets, and they don't have large marketing AV departments with fancy cameras and things. If you're a smaller company, you can still do this. Any kind of events that are happening on campus. At Zappos, that's a no-brainer. There's about 50 a day, so all I have to do is pick and choose. That's amazing. News articles, you can set up Google Alerts. We're going to talk about that in a second, where anybody who's talking about your company, you can share those news articles. That's still an interesting perspective that folks might not otherwise get. You can share job search tips, career strategies. Those tend to do really well. Humor, yes, you can be funny, break up the monotony a little bit. You can share a meme now and then. If it is reflective of your company culture and it's helping paint an overall picture of what your company is like and the culture and the people and what you guys value, go for it. Quotes do well once in a while. I'm not saying to fill up your stream with memes, humor, and quotes, but every once in a while you can, you know, you don't want to always eat veggies all your life. You want to have a little dessert now and then. Break it up. Break up the monotony. These icons, by the way, at the top, they refer to video, photograph, just plain old text, a link to an article or a blog post or back to your page, your careers page, slide share. Any of these things, break it up. Don't always be link, 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 link. Lots of pictures, lots of videos, lots of really visual content tends to do well. So break up the monotony not only of the content but also the media, the format that it comes out through. All right. I went to, I actually was the host or the MC at Social Fresh last summer, and the wonderful Sarah Evans stood up on stage and said something that sunk into my brain, and I say it all the time now, so I apologize, Sarah and everyone else that's within earshot. But I believe that great content makes people, she said this and I believe it, great content makes people want to share, care, or swear. Okay, hopefully they're not swearing at your company, but you get the idea. If it's an earnings announcement, they're going to read your content and breeze right on past. But if it's something that's super interesting, they might like it. They might comment on it and say, wow, that's really cool. They might actually share it and say, wow, I cannot believe that this, you know, is how Zappos works. If it makes people take action and click on it, like it, share it, retweet it, comment on it, you know, if they feel something and it's educational, it's informative, it's helping paint that picture, then you have great content. If it's anything less, if it's something they're just going to go right on past, don't post it. It's really not helping your branding efforts. It's just noise. So really use that as your barometer, as your line in the sand. Think about your audience. What's exciting to you or your boss or your employees may not be as interesting to external candidates who are considering you as a place to work. Okay, here we go. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of what great content looks like at Zappos. Now, keep in mind, we have a fun, zany, quirky culture. It's one of our core values, fun, quirky, and weird. We like to be a little different, and that's who we are. That's our culture. So our content is going to be very reflective of that culture. Yours might be a little bit more buttoned up, and that's okay, just as long as you stay on point, stay on message when it comes to sharing that content. So ours is really fun. I get to have a lot of fun with it. You're going to see that today. So let's go through the different types of content. These are actual pieces of content that we've shared. Our Twitter account is all of 6 weeks old. It's brand new. It launched, you know, like I said, not that long ago. It's done pretty well so far. We just launched Facebook less than 2 weeks ago. It also has done really well. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's all brand new. In fact, we launched Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest all on the same day. I actually advise against clients doing that, but I did it anyway. I should have taken my own advice, but that's okay. We're having a lot of fun, and we're getting it all rolled out. So let's start with this one. People. It is never a bad idea to show a picture of the team that people are going to either be interviewing with, that they're going to be working with, because you get to look at these people and say, wow, there's no way I could work with those people, or say, wow, you know, I think I could totally fit in there. It looks like my kind of folks. People don't want to go into interviews or go into a company situation blind. Sharing the actual faces of the actual people in their real setting or doing something quirky and fun like this that's reflective of our culture is never a bad idea. Show your personality, whatever that personality might be. So that's one example. Moving on, let's see if I can get this to work. We actually, at Zappos, encourage our candidates to forego the normal cover letter and submit a video cover letter. Why? We're all about company culture, right? It's a big part of the hiring equation for us. So if you can create a video cover letter that shows your personality, that helps us infinitely in making the decision of whether or not we want to interview and hire you. So here's one video cover letter. Speaking of humor, I don't normally play videos in webinars, but this one is so good I thought I would share it. Check this out and prepare to laugh. All right, guys. I love this video. Here, Kyle, we'll take it off your email address so that you don't. It's on YouTube, so I didn't share anything that's super proprietary. But the point is Kyle. Kyle was a candidate at the time. He made this video to show us why he would be a great fit at Zappos, and obviously that sense of humor and what have you was a perfect culture fit. He ultimately did get hired. He is actually now in the recruiting department, and he's one of our recruiters, which is what makes this even more interesting to me, being a new member of the team. So this is something that we shared recently. It did very well on social, obviously, because it's fun and it's engaging. But it also is showing candidates, it's inspiring them, how can you stand out? How can you create a video? What can you do to demonstrate your fit for the company? So this is something that we're sharing that falls under the category of entertaining and resharable, and it definitely makes people want to click share and like and comment. But it also helps them get some ideas of how they can do well through the interview process, creates a little transparency, a little inspiration for applicants that are actively job seeking and want to work for Zappos. All right, the next page. Let's keep moving forward. We actually have our recruiters blogging now. Woohoo! This is Kirsten. She wrote an awesome little blog post quoting some nice 80s songs, but we actually started something called a social VIP program. And rather than having just Stacy tweet all day and share content on social media, we actually turn it over to our individual recruiters. And once every however many weeks, they all take one turn, and it rotates, and so every 8 or 9 weeks, that recruiter's back up. And they're the voice of InsideZappos for the week. They're writing a blog post to introduce themselves, because it's kind of hard to introduce yourself in 140 characters on Twitter. They're talking a little bit about their journey at Zappos, their history here, what working for Zappos means to them, what they like about it. And then they're tweeting all week with content that they came up with that is reflective of the company culture to them. And each of our recruiters is an individual, and they each have a different perspective. So they're all sharing interesting insights that reflect them. So this is making our tweets and our content on social media very, very authentic, because it's coming from different perspectives, not just one person who does social recruiting for a living, right? So this, I don't drive, they drive, and it's a beautiful thing. So our recruiters are blogging. This is a great way to get that voice out there. Original content is always gold when it comes to social and branding. It's always a good idea. In fact, 2 of our recruiters now have started personal blogs of their own, so I'm super excited about that. One of the things I'm most proud of in the last couple of months since we all started working together. This team is great. Okay, pictures, pictures, pictures. I told you no one wants to buy a house without taking a, you don't even want to go look at a house with your real estate agent without looking at the tour online first, right? Same thing here. We created some albums on our Facebook page that actually take you through the campus. They take you through the cubes, through the backyard, through our lobby, through our cafe, our bistro, through our courtyard, the elevators that have touchscreen video games on them, like the outside of the headquarters. All these things so that people really get a feel, and it's a little less scary and a little less unknown and fewer question marks in their mind. Again, painting that picture, peeling back the curtains, and letting people get an inside view. And each one of these pictures, if you click on it, has a caption, tells a little story, and they can go through all of them. It's also great for candidates that are coming on site to interview to feel like they already have the lay of the land, a little less scary, that kind of thing. Same thing with events. Created a folder on our Facebook group. Facebook is great for pictures, right? So all the different events that are happening at Zappos, and like I said, it's like a college campus. There's like 20, 50 a day. There's pie eating contests and sledding and hackathons, and there's surf machines out in the courtyard, and snow cone machines, and parties and karaoke, and you name it, animals, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's just a matter of showcasing the things that are happening on campus so that people feel like they're there and they can sit, and I think it's a really great branding opportunity. So showing the people, showing the events, showing the campus, these are all great visual ways of getting candidates to understand what it's really like to work inside of your company. Here's a little internal process that I think is interesting. When candidates are invited to interview inside Zappos, this is the email that they receive. 2 of our recruiters, Mikkel and Katrina, wrote this really cute little poem. It's super reflective of our culture, and it's really cute and fun, and it went super viral on, it got shared quite a bit through our different social channels. People liked it. It even got picked up by a few people outside of the recruiting industry, and they started sharing it. I found some guy shared it on Twitter, and it had like 40 retweets or something. just different people, this is an engaging piece of content. It makes people understand who we are, and it's interesting and it's fun. All right, here's an interesting little perk. Remember I said if you have an interesting or unique perk, maybe you don't say, we have matching 401k and great medical dental vision. Like, that's not super interesting or unique, right? A lot of companies have that. But at Zappos, we have this $50 coworker bonus, employee bonus each month. If one of your coworkers does a great job, you can give them a $50 employee bonus. And every month you've got $50 to recognize your coworkers. That's a pretty cool thing. We shared this on social. It did really well, got lots of retweets, lots of shares, got our company culture out there to our audience, and painted that overall picture in a positive way. We do a bi-weekly InsideZappos tweet chat also. This is something that I'm super excited about. I'm super in love with. Our whole team loves it. It's a great team building thing too, by the way, in case you're looking for some fun team building activities. But every other Thursday at 10 a.m. we do a tweet chat. And we invite everybody from the company to join in. Recruiters, yes. But we also have employees. We have folks from marketing. We have folks from 6 p.m., one of our sister companies. We have folks from tech support. We have folks from the call center, development, you name it. All over the company we have folks joining in. We probably at times have 20 to 50 employees on the tweet chat, and they've just started. And then we, of course, have candidates. So we have a set number of questions, and everybody goes through, and we ask each question every 5 minutes or so. And the candidates ask questions as well, and we all talk to each other, and we retweet, and we have a lot of fun. And we just answer questions that, again, demonstrate the company, demonstrate the culture. What do you guys like most about it? Which core value of Zappos speaks the most to you, et cetera. We get a lot of different voices coming together to paint that overall picture for our candidates. This has been a huge, huge win. The feedback has been really phenomenal. I'm super excited. If you haven't tried a tweet chat, go ahead and try it. What do you have to lose? Invite a bunch of people to come in and promote it a teeny bit, and it's amazing what can happen. I highly recommend it. We even had a guy who tweeted in and said, I hear that Zappos customer support will buy pizza for people if they call in and ask for a pizza. Is that true? And everybody kind of laughed. Well, one of our recruiters or two of our recruiters picked up on that, and the guy lives in Canada. They ordered him a pizza that night, and he videotaped the whole thing and was super impressed. Like, these are just some of the fun things that can demonstrate what your company is all about and gives you a chance to shine. Yes, memes, quotes, infographics, these are also things that you can try, a fun little reshareable meme or quote. Maybe your executives have been quoted online, or maybe there's just a quote out there that really speaks to you or speaks to your company's culture or your EVP or the way that your leaders run the company, and you can share that. These do really well as well. I think we shared this one and it got like 20 retweets or something. And, we don't have a big following yet. We're brand new. Our Twitter account's only a few weeks old. So to get 20 retweets on one share is a pretty good thing. So try it. Try some quotes, some memes, something that is reflective of your culture, but it's also fun to look at and see how it does. Here's another example. I just popped this one in this morning. This one's brand new. I shared this yesterday. Just yesterday afternoon, and as you can see, it got 28 retweets and 24 favorites and a few shares and a few comments. Like, again, we don't have a large a Twitter following, but it got a lot of activity because it speaks to people, right? Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress, and working hard for something we love is called passion, right? Who does this speak to? Why is this image appealing to people? It's appealing to job seekers. It's appealing to anyone who has a career, who works. It's appealing to anyone who's ever felt stress. Like, it's pretty universally applicable, and that's why it's done well. So make sure you hashtag it and all that good stuff and get extra people, and you'll grow your followers. But little things like this can do really well. This is just one example of that. Humor. Remember I mentioned a moment ago, it's okay to infuse a little humor now and then. Web developer with a job, web developer without a job, right? This is a great one, right? I love this image. It is so true. Again, it appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to job seekers. It appeals to techies. It appeals to recruiters, HR. It appeals to anyone who works with techies. It appeals to anybody pretty much. It's just funny. So I shared this on my Tenfold page a while back for my own personal company, and again, not a huge following from my little company, but it did really well, and I'm going to show you some examples of that. So these things can go viral pretty quickly if you're not careful, which can be a good thing. So where do you find all this great content? Those are all actual examples of things that have actually been shared and have done well. Where can you find content for your company? You can set up Google Alerts. They are free. You can set up something that's similar called TalkWalker, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. You can use your company blog, departmental blogs. You can check your company's intranet. You can check Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Maybe your PR and marketing department have little gems that you can use. Google Images, YouTube. There are a number of different places you can go to look for content. On Twitter, I created a list of all the Zappos employees I could find. I think I'm up to 200 and some now. And I'm constantly adding to it. So when I need fresh content, I just go to that Twitter list and I look through and I find stuff that people share, like, oh my gosh, look what happened this morning. Somebody had a birthday and we all had, whatever. I will go ahead and share that because that's authentic. It's real. It's transparent. It's from within the company. It's actually happening that day in real time. And I didn't have to be there. I work remotely out of my home in San Diego. Zappos is in Las Vegas. I feel on the outside looking in, but my Twitter lists make me feel like I'm right there in the thick of it all, and I'm able to find great content. I curate it all. I put it all in one central place, and all our recruiters have access to it. It's really not that hard. Be smart about it. Set up Twitter lists. Search for hashtags. I search for hashtags on Twitter and Instagram that say things like life at Zappos, Zappos life, love my job, or I love Zappos. I look for different hashtags that people who like their job might use, and then I add them all to this Twitter list as I find it. So good stuff like that. We have a few employees at our company who are shutterbugs, and they're always taking pictures at all the company events. I heard through the grapevine who those people were. I reached out. They said, sure, I can be your Facebook friend, so we're Facebook friends. And now I share their pictures and we share their pictures on social media, giving them credit. And they get extra exposure for their photography, and we get to share great, authentic content that's happening in real time at our company. What else? Pinterest, all sorts of good stuff. There's all sorts of good images. Just be creative. There's tons of content out there if you just get a little bit, think outside of the box and know where to look. All right. Now we know what talent brand is and why it's important. Now we've looked at the different types of content, the different media forms, images and video and slide shares and texts and quotes and all that stuff. How do we get it out there? How do we get our message out to our audience? At Zappos, we chose to go with the InsideZappos name, right? We created this name, and we consistently use it across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Our LinkedIn group is getting rebranded. We have a new careers page, as I mentioned, launching next week. It's all going to be branded as InsideZappos because we want to not be viewed as just a company that's posting job postings all day. We want to give that inside perspective. So if you pick a consistent name and use it across the board, it's going to create that cohesive brand that you're looking for. Some use life at Google, or let me think of some different examples. Yeah, you can name it different things. And if you want to go with, whatever careers, Acme careers, that's okay too. But just whatever you're using, try to be consistent across all those channels, and don't be afraid to be creative about it. Hashtags. Who doesn't love the good old Justin Timberlake hashtag skit on Saturday Night Live or Jimmy Kimmel or what have you? So this is a good one. If you choose an employer brand hashtag and you use it, your employees will start using it, and your recruiters will start using it. And even if they don't tag you in their posts, you can still find great content because they're using this hashtag. All of our recruiters are using it. We've got employees all over Instagram using the InsideZappos hashtag now. And yours can be anything. It could be I love Dell, or I'm just picking companies here, so at random, guys. But I love Acme, or Life at Acme, or Acme Life, or whatever it is. Pick a hashtag, and it can be the same as your handle, like we did, or it can be something slightly different. But the point is, if people are tweeting and sharing information on Facebook and Instagram, these are all hashtag sites where hashtags work, and people can find this content, and you'll be able to find it easier when you're curating it all together and sharing it in real time. So think about that as well. Let's see. Be consistent. Make sure everybody knows it and everybody uses it. All right. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this call, it's good to start off with 1 or 2 social sites and then branch out from there. I liken it to juggling, right? I'm a really bad juggler. I can almost juggle one ball at a time. I can't even juggle two balls at a time, much less 3, 4, or 5. But the analogy or the similarities are there. Pick 1 or 2 networks, social platforms. Get really well versed in those. I highly recommend Twitter as a really good place to start. That's where we started. You can share often and all the time, and it's okay if you mess up. It's not too earth-shattering. You just delete your tweet and fix it, or you just move on. You really can't mess up Twitter unless you say something bad. So start with Twitter. Maybe you add on a little Facebook, or start with Twitter and add on, whatever. But get really good at one channel. You'll start to get your footing. You'll start to get your bearing. You'll get your sea legs, all these nice cliche expressions. But get really good at one before you add a whole bunch of other ones. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew all at one time and then not do well on any of the channels. So create a content calendar. This is something that we do. We actually schedule at least a couple tweets a day the week before. So we go through and we schedule our tweets for the week. We make sure we have quite a bit about life at Zappos. We make sure that we have a little bit of fun in there. We have we ask some questions in there. We make sure that we ask one question each week to make sure that we start conversation. We have a little bit different check boxes to check, and we make sure that each week our content is scheduled. And then on top of that, we go in every morning and every afternoon to engage with our candidates that are talking to us. They ask us a question. Anyone who retweets us or shares or comments or asks a question, we make sure each morning when we log into our email in the morning and each afternoon before we go home at night, we go in there and we talk to folks that are talking to us, and we say thank you, and we share, and we answer questions. There's nothing worse than candidates talking to your brand and getting crickets as a response. So these are things that we schedule, and then we share real-time updates as they happen, events that are happening on campus, any kind of Google alert that comes out about the company, or Tony Hsieh makes the news, he does an interview for a big organization. Any of that we share in real time, but we always have our scheduled content there in the background to make sure if things get busy, we don't drop the ball and no tweets go out that day, or no content gets pushed out. So this is something that I think is a best practice. You can decide how much time you want to invest or how little and what your content calendar is going to look like, but I highly recommend that you at least schedule things out 1 week at a time so that you are being consistent and being careful about the content that you're pushing out. You can encourage your recruiters and your hiring teams to like, share, comment. You can incentivize them. As I mentioned, we do the social VIP program. We rotate out every week. I put a little reminder on our recruiters' calendars every afternoon to go in there and remember to like it and share it and comment. Show a little social love, I called it, on their calendars, and they all go out there and we all share it. If it's only me sharing the stuff, it only goes so far. But imagine if you have 17 folks on the recruiting team all liking and sharing and commenting, how much more viral your content can go. So get everybody involved. Don't work hard, work smart. Delegate, everyone pitch in together. It's great. Our team is phenomenal. The team is taken to social like fish to water. They're fabulous, and I'm super grateful for all their efforts. But yeah, they've all pitched in. It's not just recruiters selling the company. We've got real employees and all that chiming in too. So this is all good stuff. All right. Candidate experience. This is often the redheaded stepchild of the recruiting world. No one seems to care about the poor candidate experience, and this is really, this is what keeps me up at night. In fact, this is what I asked for my title to be at Zappos, Candidate Experience and Engagement Strategist. I wanted candidate experience to be first and foremost, not only the experience that they have, but also engaging the candidate, getting them involved. Every single time your recruiters or your employees have a touch point with candidates on LinkedIn or InMail or email or phone or interview or phone screen or on-site interview or Glassdoor, all these different places, every one of these touch points is an opportunity to make a positive impression or a negative one. And you need to think about that. If a candidate has a bad experience, back in the day, they would tell their friends, their family, their neighbors. Now when a candidate has a negative experience, they're telling everyone they know on social media. You can't afford to neglect candidate experience. It's an opportunity you should be training your team members on, your interview team. You should be thinking about your processes. You should be trying to make things as transparent as possible so that there are no questions. Is your team the type that spams 500 people on their, just because they have the word Java somewhere on their resume? Or is your team the type that is very targeted and specific in your outreach messages? These are all things. Is your application process cumbersome and repetitive and redundant and painful? Most application sites are, unfortunately. That's just kind of the nature of the beast sometimes. But what can you do to streamline that and make it a little bit more user-friendly? Do your candidates fall into that recruiter black hole when they apply? Do they apply and never hear anything back? That's not good. You need to have some mechanism where you're following up with people and at least giving them some sort of closure or some sort of communication. And I'm not talking about that automated email that comes when people apply 10 seconds later. Thank you for applying. Don't call us. We'll call you. This email inbox is not checked, so don't reply to this. That is not a good candidate experience. Take some time to think about these things. Is your website mobile optimized? Is it mobile friendly? Pinch and zoom is not a mobile strategy. I've read this a few times this week on Twitter, and I keep seeing it, and I'm like, yes, that's true. So think about all these things. Do your candidates get updates in a timely manner? Do they have to go into the weekend wondering how they did on their phone screen or their interview? These are all things that you can be thinking about. All right, let's measure everyone's most excited part when it comes to employer branding. How do we measure this thing? It seems so intangible, right? Is your talent brand strategy even working? Only 1/3 of talent acquisition leaders say that they consistently measure their brand. I bet that's even a little high. I'm not going to lie. I bet a lot of people think they're measuring. Maybe they're really not. But according to stats that were found in the Employer Branding International study that was done, I've got some links to this in the deck if you want to read more about it. But there are several different possible metrics that companies can use when considering the ROI of their employer branding efforts. And that can be a number of different things, including employee satisfaction, quality of hire, time to fill, cost per hire, your acceptance rate for your candidates, the quality and the quantity of your applicants. I don't know about you, I want less quantity and more quality. Employee turnover statistics, your increase in your employee referrals, and then decreased absenteeism and other work performance indicators. So all these things can be used to kind of gauge the success of your talent brand efforts, employer branding. Think about some of those different things. Choose the ones that you think speak to you, and hopefully once you start getting your message out there, you can start seeing some tangible numbers that support that. LinkedIn actually offers a free service for anyone who has a LinkedIn company page called your Talent Brand Index. I believe it's everybody. It might be a certain size or above. I apologize. I should check on that. I think it's everybody, though. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Tweet me or something. But there's something called the TBI, and basically what they do is they look at your overall reach. That's how many people does your organization reach, and then the engagement, which is how many people are actually engaging with your posts and are following your company and have researched and what have you. Anyway, they have this ratio, and they will tell you this percentage, this arbitrary percentage that is your talent brand index, which is how attractive are you to prospective candidates. What does this arbitrary percentage mean? Not a lot in a vacuum, but what they will do is they will anonymously force rank you against your competition without naming who those specific competitors are, but you'll actually get to gauge where you are in the process. So I think that's kind of an interesting tool. Not very many people are doing a lot to enable you to measure your talent brand. So this is something that you can use and see how do we stack up against the next guy. You probably already know, but this is a way to kind of to really actually measure it based on performance on LinkedIn itself and your company page. Okay, here's some other real quick analytics. I'm going to go kind of fast through these, not because we're out of time, just because it would be another class in and of itself to explain each one of these pages, but I just want to at least broach the subject. Here's that web developer with a job, web developer without. I think I had about 200 followers to my company page at the time on Tenfold, and look at this. It got 68,000 impressions. 637 people clicked on it. 270 people commented on it or shared it or liked it. This is definitely amplification. 200 people somehow got it out just in front of 68,000 people. So this is what virality is all about. This is what you want. If you share a job posting, do you really think it's going to reach 68,000 people? Are other people going to like it, comment, share it? Probably not. So be thinking about the type of content you're pushing out. The ultimate goal is to get it out there to a lot of people and drive them back to your company. Get your name across their screen and get them thinking about you, consciously, subconsciously, whatever you have to do. It's all positive at the end of the day. You can also sponsor your update. There's that little sponsor update link button. You can actually pay to push it out even further beyond your organic following that way. There's also LinkedIn Analytics. You can go through and look at each post and see how many impressions and how many clicks and how many interactions. You can click on the Analytics tab and play around in there. Zappos, that video cover letter did really, really well, as I mentioned. But little things like this. I think our page was less than a week old when I took this screenshot. So we have a brand new page, but it's already reaching a fair amount of people in a very short period of time. So you can play through the insights. All these different tabs are here: overview, likes, reach, visits, posts, people, you name it. Play around with the different insights in the analytics and look at how far reaching your content is going, what type of content does well, whether it's video or picture that does well, whether morning posts or afternoon do well for you. These are all things that you can be looking at and tracking. Okay, these are some of the tools that I've used in the past, and most I still do, but these are things you might want to try out. There's Google Alerts, as I mentioned, and TalkWalker. Google Alerts kind of was going to go away for a while, and then it was back, and then lately I haven't seen it as much, so use that one with a grain of salt. TalkWalker definitely still works. I use that one every day. That's basically a social listening tool. They'll send you every day all the news articles, blog posts that came out with whatever keywords you put in there. I mentioned the LinkedIn Talent Brand Index. There's a tool called Keyhole. Bitly has a lot of tracking built in with your links that you share. All sorts of good stuff. Social Recruitment Monitor, you can actually register your brand and they will measure how much engagement you're getting, how many retweets, how many shares. They'll rank you against your competition. Or not your competition. They will rank you against other brands out there and you can kind of see how you're doing. All sorts of fun tools. So take a look at this, maybe screenshot this page and go and investigate some of these on your own. We actually do weekly social snapshots. I'm not sharing anything too personal in here, I don't think. But these are the different recruiters at Zappos, and we kind of measure, like, I'm not a huge believer in clout, like, to the letter, but I do believe there's a certain grain of truth to it, and people who get more engagement tend to have higher clout scores, and people who have lower, and these things change over time. But we measure how many tweets and how many average tweets and how many people had, how many followers we had in the beginning and how many followers we have now, et cetera, et cetera. And we take the team averages. I mean, our team started a few weeks ago with an average clout of 32, and now the average is 54. So as a team, we're getting much more engagement, that sort of thing. So we kind of take a look at where everyone is and keep everybody on track, and the team loves this. We don't use this as a negative. We actually sing our praises every week. We talk about every single person, an accomplishment that they had and what they're doing really well at, and we use this as a positive. So again, this is a really specific type of tracking that you might want to think about. All right, talent brand. We've talked about what it is, why it's important, who's thinking about it, what you need to do to think about it and develop your own talent brand. We've talked about content, what good content looks like, what great content looks like, what the different types of content are all about, and then how to amplify it, how to get it out there. What are some different strategies that you can use, what might work for you, what might not work for you. Think about these different things, try them out, measure it a little bit, see what's working for you, and come up with a great employer brand. Get that word out. What is it like to work at your company? If you can answer that question, you've done a great job evangelizing and getting that talent brand out there to your audience. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, hi, Stacy. That was a great presentation. Thank you.
I talk fast, sorry.
No, there was a lot of information to get in there, and I especially would like to thank Work4 for making that possible. So that said, a couple questions. First is from Lily Ramirez. Lily asks, Stacy, how do you deal with the photo releases from candidates who appear in your events photos?
Okay, that's a good question. We actually, I found all these ones on our website already, so I knew that it was pretty safe. The ones that are shared on Instagram and things, I actually give them a heads up and say, hey, your picture's been featured on Facebook, our Facebook page, and I credit them and I link back. And then I let those folks, if they have an issue, which no one has so far, raise their hand. But yeah, that could be something that kind of comes back to me later. Somebody says, I really don't want my picture there, then I'll take it down for sure. But in general, these are things that I'm finding on the publicly shareable web anyway, so I'm trying to be pretty careful about that. But yeah, that's a great question. These are definitely things that are good food for thought. That's definitely something that's on my radar as well.
Awesome. We have another question from Halal Mia. She asks, Stacy, how do you achieve the buy-in of the executive and leadership teams to developing this sort of strategy, and any tips to achieve that buy-in?
It's a great question. I think, I'm very, very lucky. I was hired into Zappos because they already had this desire to go this direction. And so we've had a lot of support from management and from internally we've had a lot of support. So I personally haven't had to fight that battle at Zappos, but I have in general worked with clients and talked to clients who have had some pushback in that area. And what I would say, my advice is to start small. Maybe you get one or two people who tend to be very socially, I don't know the word, very social in general, and let them go out on a trial basis and show let them be the examples of what can happen in a positive way when you get out there. We've done these tweet chats, and within a few minutes we're getting resumes from techies and mobile developers and different things. Like, the proof is in the pudding. If you can start really small in a very controlled way and show positive results, then you can start to establish the reason and start to establish the trust, and you can only start small, right? You can't just jump in into the pool, into the deep end in the beginning if there's not going to be a lot of buy-in. But I would say start small, show the actual results, and then kind of chisel away at it that way. That's my best advice at this point. And then also show them the results of a lot of these articles and these studies and this the actual impact that it's having on the bottom line, time to fill, cost per hire, quality of hire, employer referrals, retention. Look at the numbers. The stats are there. It's not a matter of if you need to worry about your employer brand and your talent brand. It's a matter of when.
And then I think we probably have time for one more question. This is from Kim Frost. You earlier had mentioned the statistic that 50% of recruiters or employers don't know or what their talent brand is. So how do you go about discovering what that brand is?
Yeah, no, sure. Like I said, I think you look at your employee value proposition. You're like, that's what you tell the world that you are. You look at your company culture, which is actually what you are. You take a look at your people. You look at your candidate experience. You take all these things together in totality, and you decide what does your employer brand really look like. And maybe you get the whole recruiting team. Maybe you get the executive team. Maybe you get your hiring managers all in the room. But get everybody together and start building what is your company value, what does your brand look like. And once you've kind of defined it and you realize where your strengths are, maybe where your opportunities and your challenges are, but you lay it all out on the table, make sure everybody's on the same page. Everybody kind of understands, how do we counter this objection that's going to come up, or this question that's a toughie, Get everybody talking. I think communication is the best way to get that out there and get everybody on the same page. If your recruiters don't know, they're making it up as they go, and that's never a good thing. So I would say communication, training, ongoing meetings about it, like whatever you need to do to get everybody stepping in sync, so to speak.
Great. And so with that, we are coming to an end. Once again, I would like to thank Work4 for making this possible. Please check them out at www.work4.com. And then the other shout out that I do want to make before we end is Stacy spoke about the candidate experience. Just a reminder that the Candidate Experience Awards deadlines have been extended to May 12th. So if you'd like to know how your company is doing and benchmark against that, they provide some invaluable data completely for free. So I would encourage everyone to look that up and get involved. So with that, thank you again, Stacy. And we will have a recording of this along with a slide deck into your inbox for future reference and for viewing within 48 hours.